Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what is it really like to work at an amusement park. So let's get started. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I was a ride operator at Cedar Point in 2015 and 2016. Then in 2017, I worked at a local family entertainment center. Basically, it's like an arcade. They have like go-karts, they have kiddie rides, things like that. And now this year, I am working at Kings Island. So I've had multiple years of experience working at different amusement parks. So I wanted to make this video to talk about what is it really like working at an amusement park. Okay, so a lot of people have some misconceptions. A lot of people think like, oh, you know, you work at a major amusement park, you just have fun all day long, you don't really work, you know, it's like a vacation. And that's not the case. It is a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, no matter where you work. Like, working at all three of those places has been, you know, extremely fun. Every day is just great. So it is fun. However, like any job, there's always a lot of pros and cons that come along with it. And I have had people tell me, you know, oh, your job is so easy. All you do is put kids on a ride. No, there's so much more involved than just that. And I can't even begin to describe everything that we do every day, but I'm making this video to at least kind of give people an idea of what it's really like and what really goes on. So one big thing is that you're outside in the weather, all weather, no matter what. And you know, I know like you sign up for it and you know what you're going into, you know, from the beginning, so you really can't complain. But it's always kind of frustrating when I see people who talk about like, oh, I work outside, you know, or like when people talk about jobs that are outside, especially in the summer, you always hear people talk about like construction workers, things like that. No one ever talks about amusement park workers, and people don't realize that we are outside in the sun and the rain and sometimes snow and, you know, thunderstorms, lightning, everything else. And, you know, there's nothing you can do. That's how it is. You're outside in the extreme heat. You're standing up on your feet for a long period of time. And on top of that, you're dealing with the public directly. So you have to help guests. You have little kids crying. People need help. They need directions. They need to know where's the closest restroom, things like that. And you have to be able to not only work outside in the heat, but also have a level head, stay calm, you know, provide that excellent customer service, even though sometimes you just want to like melt inside, you know, especially like at Cedar Point, working during Halloween weekends in the fall, it would get really cold. And you still have to adhere to your uniform standards. So there was only so many layers that you could put on, you know, underneath your uniform, over your uniform. You know, there's only so much you can do. At the end of the day, you're still standing outside when it's 40 degrees, 50 degrees, and even though that doesn't sound that bad, in Sandusky on the lake, it feels even colder than that. You know, it might be 50, but it will feel like it's 37. Like, that's how terrible it is. Especially when you have the wind blowing and it's raining, it's just miserable. And you can't do anything. You just have to stand outside in it. So it's not always a walk in the park. And the same goes with the heat. You know, the amusement parks don't shut down just because it's 100 degrees outside. You still have to go stand outside. Even though you're pouring sweat, you feel gross, you feel like you're smelly, you feel like you don't want to be close to any other people because you feel like, oh my God, I'm gross. I don't want to, you know, offend other people. But you still have to put on a smile and deal with it. So it's not always a walk in the park. Like I said, you're always on your feet. I think sometimes with certain positions, people will just walk by as you're sitting there, even though you've only been sitting there for 10 minutes. You know, like if you're at an entrance to a ride, or like when I worked at the Family Fun Center, we would sit down while the rides were operating, but then we immediately had to get back up. So people don't realize, like, they walk by, they only see you sitting there just for a few seconds, and they think, oh, that job is so easy. All she has to do is sit there all day. She doesn't do anything. But they don't realize that they're only seeing a small snippet of the overall picture. You know, you're not sitting there all day. It's not like, oh, I can just sit on this chair and not do anything. That doesn't ever happen. I don't know anywhere where that would be an option. You know, even if you're sitting down during, you know, one rotation, the most you're going to sit there is 30 minutes, maybe an hour if you're lucky, and then it's right on to the next position. You're back on your feet, you're back out in the sun or the rain or the cold, whatever it is. So, you know, people make little like snide remarks, but they don't realize like it's not like that all day long. I know when I worked at Cedar Point at Top Thrill Dragster, when I would be at Fast Lane, people would walk by and they would say like, you have the easy job, all you have to do is sit here, people just walk by, you don't even have to do anything. And I'm like, no. No, it's not that easy. And even at Millennium Force too. But at Millennium Force, the line never really moved all that quick. So people would stand there like, you know, they kind of knew it wasn't as easy as it looked. Whereas at, you know, Dragster, people were like, you just have the easy job. And I'm like, no, no, no. So, you know, it's, yeah. People really seem to think that like, oh, and another big like misconception is people always say like, oh, those rides are just run by like dumb teenagers. They don't realize the amount of training and like protocol and everything that it takes to run those rides. You know, even the kiddie rides, you know, at the family entertainment center that I worked at, it takes a lot. There's a lot of, you know, safety rules, regulations, things you have to look out for. I mean, people's lives are literally in your hands and you can't be caught slipping, you know, even though, you know, people from the outside who don't understand how things work, they see it as like, oh, they're just pulling on our seatbelt, making sure it's locked, on to the next person. But we're looking at so much more than that. You know, we're scanning riders. You have to make sure that people are behaving appropriately. You have to make sure that people are dressed appropriately. You know, you have to make sure that everything is functioning correctly. Is the seatbelt buckled exactly how it should be and it's not like half buckled? You have to check all those things. And you only have a few seconds to do it as you're checking each seat. So, you know, it might kind of seem like to an outsider, like, oh, they don't really do anything. They're just, you know, done, they checked all the seats. But you're scanning so many things, you're looking for so many things. If something goes wrong, it's on you. So there's a lot that goes into it. Just like any other job, it's not a walk in the park. You also have to deal with angry guests, which is always fun. You know, like when I worked at Top Thrill Dragster, there was a lot of downtime and people would stand in line for an hour, 2 hours. They'd get to the front of the line, the ride would close for rain, the ride would close for mechanical problems, and that's out of our control. We can't do anything about that. But people were the first like line of defense and people would scream at us. They would cuss at us. They would get angry. They would get mad. You know, they would say, you're shutting the ride down and it's not even raining yet. But if there's even a slight chance of rain, the ride can't operate. People don't understand that. Or they'll say, oh, it's only sprinkling. You know, why can't we still ride? Protocol says that we can't operate in the rain. And they scream at us and they say like, you know, oh, you know, I waited in line, you're wasting my time, I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, when I worked at Valraven, I got called every name under the sun. Every name under the sun. People at Millennium Force, the guests there, generally were a lot nicer and they were a lot more excited to be there. They were very happy. That doesn't mean that I didn't get screamed and cussed at Millennium Force, because I did. But at Valraven, it was like a regular occurrence. It happened very, very often. And it was frustrating. It's hard because you're in a position where you really can't defend yourself. You can't say anything back. You know, people would get in your face and they'd scream and yell. And I mean, what are you going to do? You can call security, yeah, but there's a good chance that guest will be long gone by the time security gets there. So, you know, you deal with that kind of stuff all day long. It's like, I've worked many, many jobs, and I do have a video on here where I talk about all the different jobs I've had in my life. You know, I've worked retail, I've worked in restaurants, I've worked a lot of different things, and I would say the one job where the guests were the most aggressive and the most angry definitely would be working in the amusement industry. I don't know why. You know, people pay a lot of money to come to these parks. You would think that they would be happy. You know, it's a beautiful day outside. You're here with your family. You should be in a good mood. but they look for any reason to just take anything out on you. Anything, you know, just because they see you standing there in a uniform, they think they all their problems can be unloaded onto you. So, you know, it's not that easy. And I know, again, like, people would say, like, oh, but that's any job. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult just like any job. It's not easy. It's not a walk in the park. And, you know, it's frustrating when people say that. And they say, like, you know, oh, you know, you must like working there because you don't have to do anything. And, you know, no one works that hard. But no, it's like everyone works extremely hard. Everyone puts in, you know, their fair amount of work. And not just ride operators, but, you know, everything overall to keep the park running. You know, the people who work in food service, they're working in a hot kitchen all day. They probably have people screaming and cussing at them too. You know, the people who work in merchandising, who work in the retail shops, and, you know, the people who go around and clean up the park, who take out the trash. Like, everyone is working equally as hard, and it's not an easy job for anybody, believe me. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video to kind of shed some light on what it is really like working at an amusement park, and yeah, just kind of let people know that it's definitely not that easy. It's very challenging. It's not a job that I think just anybody could do. You have to be cut out for it. You have to have a certain, you know, personality, be a certain type of person, you know, to be able to make it. But it is very fun. It's very rewarding. You meet people from all over the world. You meet people from all walks of life. So it is very fun. It is very rewarding. However, it is not an easy job by any means. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have any questions, or if there's anything that you want me to address in another video about amusement parks, or what it's like working at Cedar Point or Kings Island, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Bye!